So you've just installed the PowerShop plugin. This is your first time running it, and we're just now generating the file. But how do we set up the config? Well, in this video we will be explaining how to set up the config. So first, you boot up your server. This is your first time booting it up. As you can see, placeholder API was not found, so we don't have support for it because we don't have placeholder API. But now this folder appears. We got this huge config file. There's so much to look at. This is how it's done. To start off with, we're going to talk about the base power. This, when you fire the bow, by default, all bows will have this multiplied onto their damage value. Feel free to experiment with this. I can't really explain what a good range is, but from my testing, this is the default's a good range. Next thing you may notice is bow properties. It's got everything from the name, the state of the bow, if it's unbreakable. I wouldn't suggest messing with the top couple. You can change the lore, you can change the name, but I wouldn't mess with this. When you get down here, you have this minigame tab. The minigame tab is one of the most important tabs in the entire config. As you can see, you can change the minimum players. You can change water loss. You can change double jump. I would not change any of these. They're good at default. Then you find Enable PvP. This is a little bit of a misnomer. It's not just PvP, but it's literally every damage value when the minigame's not active. Next, you have spectators. By default, this is set to false because there is no spectator locations, but you can change this to true. Now, this is one of the biggest portions, the auto reset portion. By default, you do not have any worlds. If you try to join the game, here we go. Anyways, run the initialize command, and you'll feel a slight lag spike. This is because the world is now generating a temporary backup world, and in the console you'll see it generated a world, and it's supposed to say, there it is, no maps found. So we're going to stop the server now. There we go. And then we have this game maps folder. And we'll also see that it generated a data folder. The data folder just contains all the wins and loses. But anyways, you can see now, this makes a lot more sense. Because we have world example, and we go into game maps, and we have example. Now, we don't want example. We're just going to delete example. We don't want it. And instead, we're going to drag in another world. We'll drag Battle of Zepstorm into our game maps. Now, one of the biggest problems right now is the name format. We do not want any spaces, as that will break stuff. So we are just going to simply change it from Battle of Zepstorm to Zepstorm in all lowercase. We're going to copy that. And then we're going to go over here, and we're going to change it from example to Zepstorm. This is technically all we have to do. When you load up now, you'll be teleported to Zepstorm. Anyways, we go down here. You can see that we have this all set up, and I do need to change that. But we got, right off the bat, icon. This is set to dirt. Now you can find a list of possible blocks, items, whatever. Over here, we got acacia bow, air. Don't use air. Air will not work right. Everything else will work fine. Should work fine. Beehive. We're gonna go dark oak plank. Alright, dark oak planks. And we're just gonna copy that value there. And we're going to paste that in here, and I'm also going to paste this in here real quick. But we do need that for another thing. That's why I pulled it up. Now here is the name. So in the menu, it will appear as dark oak planks. When you open it up to vote, it will show up as dark oak planks. The item name, when you hover over it, is this line. So we're going to call it, I'm going to go and4. You can find the list of colors and it's right down here. This will also pull up the list, but you can find this all online. But this is 4 is red, and we're gonna go Battle of Storm. Right? This can be quite literally anything you want to an extent, as long as it's alphanumerical, has spaces, all that fun stuff. This has to be alphanumerical and have no spaces in it. This can be anything that you can type in a Minecraft anvil can go here. Next, we have lore. So when you hover over it, you have the name of the item, and then you have the lore. For this case, I generally go with a lighter color of what we're working with. Since we did red, we're going to go light red, and I'm hoping I'm not mixing up colors, but I believe that's light red. And usually what I do for the bottom one is I put the credits, so map by Lemon, Lemonade, Stand 57. Go check them out on YouTube and Twitch. And then for the top one, I generally put players. It's a 2-team map, right? So when you go to vote, it's like, oh, this is 2 teams. The map's made by Lemon. You can put whatever you want down here. You don't even have to say how many teams are there. I would highly recommend saying how many teams there are, but next, we have red and we have blue. Now you can change these to quite literally anything with the same caveats as this. So you can't, it has to be alphanumerical, has to be 1 line, but it can be literally anything. By default, we want it to be one word. You can put multiple, but it will break the team join. If you want players to be able to do the command to join the team, it will break that command if you put multiple lines. So in this case, we're going to keep it as 1 word, and we're just going to keep it as red. Team color, we have a list of colors. Let's open that up. Here, you got dark blue, all this fun stuff. Like, obviously you can't use like magic or strike through or underline for. Well, you can, but it won't work very well. But we're just going to leave that as red. And then spawn location. This is one of the biggest ones. You will find this in the world. I'd suggest loading it up in a separate single-player instance. Pull it up. Find the team spawns. For Battle of Zephtstorm, these are the team spawns. For the team with the red flag, it's 9, 38, 63. So we're just going to copy that down. 9, 38, 63. And then 9, 38, negative 62 for blue. 9, 38, negative 62. It's probably supposed to be negative 63, but same difference. Anyways, after we do this, you can do a spectator location. We're just going to change that to Y38. And then, this is all you have to do. You can now start a round. Everything should work perfectly fine. This is the one thing that you actually do have to change is the auto reset tab. Everything else will work fine. Auto start. This is going to be the countdown at the beginning of the round. So normally I would say yes. There should be an auto start. There are cases when you don't want auto start. You can always do /PowerShot pause to pause the countdown. But I would suggest having it enabled. This is the number of players that are required to be on for the countdown to start. Now, it is different than this number up here, minimum players. So, if you have 5 players on for this, and then one of the players leaves, and it's not dropping below the 2 up here, it will still count down. But if this number isn't there, it won't start countdown until this amount of players join. So, you can set this to 4 and have 2 minimum. And when 4 players get on, the countdown starts, and then it will stop if you drop below 2 players. Timer. The timer, as it says right here, it's a time in seconds before the round starts. So when you get 2 players on, the timer starts and starts counting down, and it's the experience bar. When it reaches 0, the timer stops, and the round begins. Now, this number, initialize. This is when the map vote ends and the team selection opens up. You can set this to any value below this, but above 0. It cannot be 0, and it cannot be above the max timer. And if you have this set to an invalid number, it will simply be one less than the timer. And if the timer is set to 0, it will change it to, I don't remember what number I have it set to. I think it's 120 if the timer is set to 0. So the timer cannot be 0 to start with. And initialize cannot be more than the timer. Finally, we got the match end. This is a very important portion because you're going to want to set this to true. But then you have, this is the hub world. So I'm going to actually copy this one again because we got all the info we need. -22, 97, -246. What was that? -22. And then we have 97, -246. So all of this information here will say, alright, this is where you'll be teleported when the game ends. You do want to set this up. As you can see, now we teleport straight to the spawn when we join, because we set that up. And if you go to vote, you'll see right there, Battle of Zepstorm, 2-team map, map by Lemon. That's exactly what we put on. You vote, it pulls the team name. We initialize, right? And as you can see, the countdown started when my ult got on. And there will be a lag spike. There is no preventing the lag. You can reduce it by using paper, MC instead of spigot. But when it's initialized, you now have team request and kits. So if you click the team, you can see we got the red and blue team as we set up right here in our files. We got red and we got blue. Anyways, when the round starts, you can see now we're loaded into the world. We can play Pyro Shot. Good luck and have fun.